Welcome to the She is a Nourished Mom podcast, where we talk about all things self-care, motherhood, and faith for the Christian mom who wants to transition from worn out to winning as the mom and woman God called her to be. I'm your host, Dr. LaToya Wiggins, but please just call me LaToya. I just want to be your mommy friend and sister in Christ as I teach you how to no longer feel depleted, but how to develop healthy habits to be nourished, renewed, and rejuvenated with biblical principles that bring peace instead of self-pity. Now let's get nourished together. Hey mamas, I hope you have been enjoying the 3-part series on mompreneurs. And now today I have a very special guest, Kiri Honey, and today we are talking about relationships, how to revive those marriages. So hey Kiri, how are you?
Hey, I am great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you. So introduce yourself to our mamas. Tell them a little bit about you and what you do.
So I am Kiri. I live in New Zealand. I am a relationship coach and have been for the last couple of years. Prior to that, I was actually a high school art teacher.
Wow.
But life dramatically changed after I had kids, which is what led me to do this work. I knew that I wanted to support moms in some way, and this is the natural progression of where we came to from there. So basically, what I do is I help moms revive their relationship with themselves so that they can have a stronger partnership, role model the kinds of relationship they want for their kids, and have more fun and connection along the way.
Yes, I love that. How many kiddos do you have?
So I have 2 kiddos. Olive is 7 and Loki will be 5 in November.
Oh, yes, those little ones.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that, you do the type of work that you do because, after having kids, it definitely changes a lot in our relationship. So,
Mhm.
I remember all the fun that my husband and I had before. We have to
Yeah.
really, excuse me, we have to really be intentional about
Mhm.
still having that fun. It's not that we don't want to have fun, but we
Mhm.
have 3 kids and they each have their own personalities, their own needs. And it's very easy to get lost once you get married. And, I feel like at times, sometimes you feel like you're living with a roommate, you know,
Yep.
so you have to make
Mhm.
sure that you have that spark in your marriage, or sometimes you get so lost, you get so used to just everything being about the kids, you don't even know how to get that spark back. So I love that you even mentioned that, you help people revive their relationships, but it actually starts with you. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. So, basically in my own marriage, it was actually when I was still pregnant that with number 2, that things were just really things were falling off the wagon. They were
Mhm,
going all the places. And what happened in my marriage is my husband actually had an affair.
mhm,
And this could have been the end. And I know something like that would be the end in a lot of relationships. But for us, it was actually the beginning.
mhm,
And what that meant was it was kind of the kick in the butt that we needed to get ourselves back on track. Neither of us wanted to be in that place. Neither of us wanted to be distancing from each other, but that was the reality of our situation. And I learned to take what I like to call radical responsibility for the
mhm,
role that I played in that happening because it wasn't just him.
mhm,
I wasn't in a very good place. I wasn't very pleasant to come home to. I was complaining a lot about how hard the kids were, how much I was struggling. I wasn't sharing any of the positives because there were plenty of positive things, but I wasn't talking to my husband about it because I needed to vent. I needed to complain to somebody, and I expected that I should be able to do that, but that's not what a loving relationship is. We need to be able to talk about the good and and the bad, and not feel like we're just a sounding board for all the complaints and all of that we can put on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, it did all start with me. Once this happened, I was like, all right, things need to change.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? What can I do to save my marriage, basically?
Yes, I love that you mentioned that because, like you said, infidelity could be the end to many marriages.
Mm-hmm.
But there are many people who do want to work on their marriage. And a lot of my moms are Christian moms, and that's one of the things in the Bible. Infidelity could be that way out, but if you make vows to God, you want to try to honor those as best as you can. So it's like, what can we do to fix it? And I love that you acknowledge there were some things that I was doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean should have been should the infidelity happen? No, but what part did I play into that? I love that you acknowledge that, because a lot of times you're so busy focused on the other person and why they did that. But what can I do? What was I doing?
And not to mention the fact that we get into blame and we're like, how could they possibly have done that? And don't get me wrong, I was in that place as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we were both like, no, we don't want this.
Yeah.
We chose to move forward. Okay, so this happened. Yep, it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite day. But how can we move forward and future-proof it so that this kind of stuff doesn't happen? Because there's also so many people out there that would say things like, once a cheater, always a cheater, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can buy into stuff like that if you choose to, but we are all capable of making those kinds of mistakes if the circumstances are like that, or if the circumstances allow it.
Mm-hmm.
But the grass isn't greener on the other side, everybody. The grass is greener where you water it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. And there's so many moms out there who can relate to, your story. And one thing I know that you mentioned that I'm guilty of, and I know a lot of moms are guilty of, that nagging piece. We feel like we need, we should be able to vent, but how are we venting? Is the only communication you have with your spouse the venting piece? Like you said, you're always spilling all this negativity. Where's all the positivity? And my husband has said that to me in the past. It's like, as soon as you walk through the door, nag, 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 nag. This is all the things that are going wrong. But what about acknowledging what he's doing right? Which is still a lot. But if you're not reminding them of that, that's all they see. Like, she just hates me. Like, this is all she does.
And they think, like, I've had many conversations with my husband. We're like, it feels like I can't do anything right.
Yeah.
Because, he's like, I'm a pro at work. I always do all the things. And then I get home and I'm like, I can't even stack the dishwasher properly.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's so true. And I remember, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, back when things were really bad and my husband would come home from work, I would like throw the kids at him. I was like, I am out. Right? Instead of like, hi, welcome home. So great to see you. Right? Like, yeah, not cool.
So true. And I was going to say, I forgot, it was either a TV show or a movie I was watching. I can't even remember who it was. Matter of fact, I think it was a clip of a TV show. And this lady was saying that, I think she was pretty much saying like all the stuff that she would do before her husband would get home, because you had to think about it, like, your husband is out already fighting the world. The last thing that they should have to do is come home to fight you. So it's like, you want to have that peace. And, when you think about things like that, all I'm doing is venting or throwing the kids at him. Like, yes, you may need a break, but can you at least get in and get comfortable first, So yes, just really making sure we're pouring into our spouses and, pouring into each other, making sure that we're meeting each other's needs, because if not, it does open the door for many things. Not just infidelity. It can open many doors that can lead to divorce, and separation. So what can we do to revive our marriages? So you talked about reviving things in ourselves. So tell us a little bit more about that. What were some steps that you took to revive your marriage, starting with you?
So for me, I had to really look into the self-care and what could I do to bring in more fun for myself. And it involved a lot of self-reflection, a lot of
Mhm.
exploring because I had lost myself in motherhood. I was not doing any of the things that I enjoyed. And so I did find motherhood at that stage in life very overwhelming.
Mhm.
And so how could what were the things that I really enjoyed doing that I wasn't doing enough of? Like spending time with my friends, like actually going out and doing something outside of the house without kids was
Yeah.
something that helped fill my bucket up. I also realized that I needed, like, I get overwhelmed and I get into stress mode when everyone's like at me, right?
Mhm.
So being aware that actually having some quiet time was something that I really needed for me. That's when I discovered meditations and how
Mhm.
much that helped me. And I also got back into creative mode
Mhm.
because like I was an art teacher. Art has always been something in my life, but even as a teacher, I wasn't really doing it myself.
Mhm.
So actually finding my way back to having some time to do that, not with any kind of goal, or like I'm not trying to get a painting in a gallery or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put some stuff on paper and cut things and glue
Yeah.
and color and doing stuff like that for myself really helped me find that joy
Mhm.
so that I can be a better person, a better mom, you know, when I am with the kids and when
Yeah.
and when everyone is at me and I'm in a better headspace because of it.
Yeah. So when you started prioritizing self-care, making sure you were hanging out with your friends more, tapping
Mhm.
into things that you love, like getting back into art, meditation, and just doing those things that brought you joy. What did you start to see happen in your family? Not even just your marriage, but how I know you did mention, you're showing up better for your family. What were some of the differences that you saw? Where you were able to
Well,
pour into yourself.
yeah, so I'm not as grumpy as much.
Right.
So
Same
so
here.
I wasn't yeah, so I wasn't like snapping at the kids, and I wasn't like crying emoji to my husband all the time, and I wasn't like feeling like I had to throw the kids at him when he got home anymore. I even started getting back into like cooking.
Hmm.
One of the things that I struggled with was, so my husband would come home from work and he would cook dinner because I was
Hmm.
just like I just couldn't do any of the things. And then I discovered some, like a passion for cooking again, and actually in our ability to communicate. One of the things that we did that really helped was I asked him if he could, all he had to do was grab some like meat out of the freezer.
Hmm.
Because if I know what we're having, then I can whip something up.
Yeah.
But it's actually that decision fatigue that I'm sure a lot of moms can relate to, even if maybe you haven't heard that term before, that we just get so overwhelmed with having to make decisions for everyone that I couldn't make a decision for dinner. But in being able to communicate and being aware of how that impacted me, then we can work together and be like, okay, I can support you by doing that. And now I can cook dinner and I don't feel overwhelmed by it because I no longer have to like go to the freezer. as 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 simple as that sounds, but that's the reality.
No, I'm sure a lot of moms can relate to that. I know I can, because
Yeah.
sometimes the part of cooking that I dread is just trying to figure out
Mm,
what are we going to eat. So like you said,
right?
it's something so simple, because it is simple. Like just
Mm.
taking the meat out, that really helps.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what we're eating.
I know. And
Or,
it's great
like you said, you
because
may be so tired. Sometimes we'll write to-do lists, sticky notes, or
mm,
whatever.
And you may still forget, like you already had an idea for dinner, then you forgot. But by having him take that out, that's like a reminder. So, like you said, you can bypass that confusion or fatigue that you were having because you're so mentally exhausted, from whatever, just having a busy
Yeah.
day, having a busy day with the kids, good or bad, So I can definitely understand how that was so helpful.
But
That
then,
took some of the weight off of him too. But a lot of times when you're pouring back into yourself, you actually have that mental energy to do those things you don't either enjoy doing, or maybe you did enjoy cooking, but because of the fatigue, you don't enjoy it anymore. So it just gives you that. Yeah, I feel like when you're just more energized mentally and physically, you can get back to doing those things that you love and even don't love so much without the dread. Without
but
dreading
the
it.
other thing that the self-care helps with here is that when your husband forgets to get the meat out, you don't then jump at him
Yeah.
and be like, how could you forget to do that one thing? Because
Yeah.
because
They'll
we do
forget.
that.
Yeah.
And
So
yes,
less
he will
grumpy.
forget. Yeah. Just like you
Yeah.
forget as well.
Exactly. And just
Yeah.
acknowledging that too, like
Mhm.
you're not perfect either. You're going to make mistakes.
Mhm.
So when they make the mistakes, you can for me, just taking a few deep breaths to remind myself
Mhm.
of those things instead of
Mhm.
just immediately snapping. I love that.
Yeah.
So, what were some different, some other changes you saw in your marriage? So you revive yourself, and now you're reviving your marriage.
Yeah.
Tell me more about
So
that.
so the other things we talked about radical responsibility. So that
Hmm.
comes into my awareness of how basically I was entering into conversations, entering
Hmm.
into situations. There was a lot of awareness that came up. I mentioned the dishwasher earlier. This is quite a point of contention in in many marriages I have learned, but it was a real place in our marriage. We would have the fight all the time over the stupid
Hmm.
dishwasher. And figuring out why we were having a fight over the dishwasher and what that was actually about,
Hmm.
and then coming up with our own strategy to ease that so we didn't have that fight all the time.
Right.
That was a big one. Also learning to prioritize each other, because I mean, how many times I can, like, your partner comes home, they're still on the phone from work, you like you're excited to have them home. The kids are excited, but they're still not present.
Yeah.
So having conversations around that and why that's important. What else? Having date nights. That was a really big one. Being open and honest and vulnerable was a super big one, especially when the whole affair came
Hmm.
out. Like, it was brutal at times, that conversation, but it has led to a lot more open and honest conversations without judgment.
Uh-huh.
So being able to communicate what you want, what you need, in all capacities without feeling judged by the other person is a really big deal. And I know my husband was very resistant to sharing openly and honestly
Hmm.
his side of what took place because of the shame,
Yeah.
because he felt a lot of shame around, how could he do that to us as a family, and why do you want to know that, why do you want to go through that pain? And so being able to understand that I needed to know so that I could move forward, so
Hmm.
that I could stop thinking about it in my head, making it worse, and so on and so forth. And so those brutal, honest conversations, as hard as they are so important for moving forward. And I mean, we used to have big fights. We used to, like, basically I would start a fight and then I would run away. It's kind of like
Get it, hit and run.
yeah. It's kind of, so I would like go in guns blazing, and then he would come back and I'd be like, okay, I'll just run away. And so becoming very aware that that was my like natural instinct and remembering what his natural instinct is. And again, so it really comes down to that awareness. But now we are able to have conversations. We're able to have disagreements, of course, because you're going to, but our like turnaround rate to be able to get back on track and to be able to understand each other, it's massive. It's made such a difference. And then now we can sit down, like after we've had an argument, we can sit down and we can talk about how we were feeling at the time and what was going on for us and why we snapped or whatever it was, and how we can move forward and do better next time. And then another thing is just your expectations. We have such ridiculous expectations of both ourselves and our partners, don't we? And so lowering that and just like realizing that we're all going to mess up at some, like we all make mistakes. We all do the things. We don't necessarily mean to do it. And yeah, so did that answer your question? That was a lot of things.
Oh no, that was great. I mean, no, so I can just relate to a lot of that you were saying. For me in my marriage, I feel like the communication is a very big thing, and then it helps with patience. So, like you said, just kind of being more understanding, and like you said, dropping those expectations. We're not saying you should have low expectations, but like you said, a lot of our expectations are ridiculously high.
I think it depends what the expectations are.
Yeah.
Because things like you should be able to trust that you can say something to your partner without feeling blame or shame or any of that. You should be able to have a conversation with your partner without them being on the phone or, but do we necessarily expect our partners to take the rubbish out every Tuesday? Like you can do that too. So if you expect that you're going to have to do it and then they start doing it, you notice that and you're like, ooh, thanks. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
And then it just fosters a bit more love and recognition of each other. And if you start dishing out the compliments and if you start dishing out the appreciation, it's much more likely that it's going to come back to you.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking that part when you were like easing into it, just really showing that, you said recognition. Yeah. And I feel like, especially for a lot of men, they want that, recognition, like, well, where's the affirmation? Like, again, a lot of times we're so busy nagging, they want to know that you appreciate what they're doing. So it could be something very minor. I remember in the past, sometimes I used to feel like I shouldn't have to thank you for certain things. Those are things that you quote unquote should be doing. But he needed that affirmation. So now, I try to, it could be something as simple as like a few weeks ago, I was going to take the kids to the beach, just us while he was working. And then he said, oh, if we go a different day, he had said like another day where he could take off, he would take us. And I really didn't want to drive anyway. So just having him drive, that just felt good to me. And I just, he said like, thanks for taking us. It's like, okay, I'm out with my family, but yes, thank you. Like, cause I really did appreciate that,
Yeah.
So, minor things, he would tell me, you don't have to thank me for that. I'm like, but you don't understand, period. Like that really did mean a lot for me.
Yeah. And just acknowledging those little things. Like, what was I going to say? How far would him saying or them saying, you're such a great mother?
Yeah.
How would that, or thank you so much for cooking that meal. Thanks for folding my washing.
Yep. Yeah, those things. Like he'll say that to me sometimes. I'll say it to him sometimes. And we both respond the same. We're like, you don't have to thank me for that. But it's just showing appreciation.
Yeah.
Especially.
And you don't have to do it all the time.
Yeah, but it's just sometimes, especially if it's something that he may, or, I may normally do and he ends up doing it. Show that appreciation and, vice versa. So, like I usually do the cooking, but if he does it, Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. And then all of that. So another big thing that helped us was learning our love language, or
Yeah.
just awareness around what the love languages were and how it impacts. And we've also noticed our love has kind of changed.
Uh-huh.
So it's evolved over time. But, the more that I am shown that kind of appreciation that we were just talking about, the more I will want to get intimate and
Mm-hmm.
physical.
Exactly.
But if I'm not feeling any any of that, he doesn't want to hold my hand, whatever it is,
Yeah.
then you're not gonna want to do the things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you have to feed into each other in order to, especially
Yeah.
for women, like we need that kind of love to make us, not all the time, but a lot of us, especially after having kids, like we need, I guess, what is it?
Yeah.
Like men are, I guess they're just automatically sexual, I guess, and we need the love part.
Yeah. And that comes back to that awareness part, because I'll just be honest with you for a minute. So our sex life is way better than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really because of the awareness side. And I'm
Yeah.
really aware of the role that I play. And I know that like my husband's sexual desire is way higher than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knows that that's not going to happen all the time.
Yeah.
But we're like, okay, we need to like level the playing field a little bit. And so it's just constantly being aware of what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. To have a healthy marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Yeah. So, what are some ways that you help moms? What are at least maybe 3 takeaways or tips for moms who need to revive their relationships, revive their marriages? And one thing I've gotten from you is bottom line, everything has dramatically changed, like you're in a much better space. It sounds like, the infidelity piece caused you all to have a shift where your marriage is so much better now. It didn't go downhill, it went uphill. Even the sex life, everything is much better now. So any moms who are struggling in these different areas, what are some tips that you would give them?
Yeah, so I like to share the piece that there is hope. Obviously there's still two people. You both have to want to make your relationship work. But the biggest piece for me and what I help with other moms is to really figure out the self-care piece and how you can have more of what's going to bring you up, so that you can, be that fun person that you were or that you can be. So exploring all that and figuring that side out. And then really diving into, I guess, the confidence piece is big in there as well, because you need to have the confidence to communicate openly and honestly, and helping you become more aware basically of where things are. So we would talk through, what are some things that you fight about? How do you respond to different situations, and what can you do differently? Because the radical responsibility piece is huge, because ultimately in any kind of like coaching program, I can't guarantee that your marriage is going to work, right? Nobody can guarantee stuff like that. But what I can guarantee is that you're going to have the support and you're going to feel confident in whatever happens. So even if your relationship doesn't work out, you're going to feel like you've done all the things that you need to do, that you are comfortable in where you are and where your family is. And that's a really big deal, I think.
Yeah, so I love how you help moms. So tell us a little bit more about if moms need that support with reviving their relationships, how can they get in contact with you? Do you do one-on-one coaching, group coaching? How do you go about doing that?
So I've recently moved to a membership community. So I have what's called the Relationship Revival Academy, where there are two kind of options to it. You can do like a self-paced version where you've got access to all of the information. And I've got like a relationship roadmap. So you can kind of figure out where you are on the roadmap and where you need the support. Or there's another VIP version where you can get more one-on-one support with that. So that is what I offer. And then I also have a free Facebook community called Kiri's Community for Moms Who Want Rock Solid Relationships. So you can find that on Facebook if you're a Facebook user. Yeah.
All right. I love that. And moms, I know we are busy, but she has 2 different options. You can do it on your own, or you can have that VIP option where you're getting that coaching that you need. So, and I'll have all of the information in the caption for you all. So in the show notes, I should say, the show notes. So Kiri, let us know, is there anything else you have going on or coming up?
Yeah, so I really wanted to talk to you about the Busy Moms Revival Bundle that is coming up on September 27th. I'm excited because LaToya is also part of the bundle. She is sharing a freebie on self-care. And so what it is a bundle where you opt in and you can go in and grab all the free things that you want. And it's only available from September 27th to October 4th. So you need to register. And then once it's live, you go in, you grab your freebies, whichever freebies you don't want, don't grab them, whatever. But if you want it, come in, grab it for free. And then once it is done, those gifts will no longer be free. You will have to pay for them. So yes. Get in while you can.
Yes. Many different options, ladies. So like she said, it is completely free. You don't have to sign up for every last one. You just look at the bundle, see which free offers that you relate to the most, that you feel like you need, and you download them. You heard Kiri said that self-care is very important in reviving yourself. So I got you on some self-care. So make sure you check out my resource. But yes, make sure you all download that, and that will be in the caption also in the show notes. So Kiri, let our mamas know where they can find you on social media.
So as I said, I have a free Facebook community. I'd love for you to join. Kiri's Community for Moms Who Want Rock Solid Relationship. Or you just follow me at Kiri Honey, Instagram, Facebook, all the places.
All right. Love it, love it, love it. Make sure you all subscribe. I think you were my first relationship expert, which is, I'm so excited. Definitely have to revive. Like I said, I know most moms, especially after having kids, need to revive their marriage in some kind of way. Whether you are, your marriage has really gone downhill. It may have just become stale and stagnant. Yeah. Just trying to, get that spark back, get back to this. Go ahead.
Just on that piece, don't be like me. Don't be like me and wait until your relationship is in crisis and you are clawing your way back out of a deep, dark hole to try and fix it. Get in there, learn the tools so that you can revive it while it's, okay, and not when you're in disaster management. Okay.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. And even if you may already be there. Remember, she said there is hope. Just gotta want it. Both of you. Yeah. That's the thing. You have to have willing participants. You have to want this. Yeah. He has to want this, and you put the work in. Hope is never lost. You just put that work in and revive your marriage. So thank you so much for sharing that, Kiri. And again, I'll have all your information in the show notes so everybody can follow you. Make sure you check her out, everybody. Make sure you check out the Busy Moms Revival Bundle. And I will see you all next time.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the She is the Nourished Mom podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share with a mommy friend who needs to hear this message. Connect with me on social media at She is a Nourished Mom, and let me know your ahas and takeaways from this week's episode. Until next time, keep nourishing yourself, mama.